So I want to start with Drake Maye because I don't know how much you guys have watched. I mean, James, you've been covering the Big Ten and part of their coverage, and Devin, you're busy on the weekends, I hear. But just from this kid, what you've heard, what you experienced with Mac, what would be a fair scenario in which he starts, and what signs would you see, whether they involve him or maybe the line or the receivers, that go, we should probably sit him? Because I at least think they're going to give him a chance in the spring and summer to make that decision for them.
Yeah, it should be an open competition. It always should be. Nobody should just be handed the starting job. Jacoby will get probably the majority of the first team reps right away, deservingly so. He's the guy who's has the veteran presence. He's played in the NFL. But I think for Drake Maye, is just kind of like what I just talked about, day to day, just building chemistry with receivers, building chemistry with the line, building chemistry with the backs, showing some leadership, getting command of the huddle. There's a lot to know, at the quarterback position in the NFL, and every single day you're going to see a different defense, a different coverage, a different blitz that you've never seen in college, and they're going to expect you to know how to handle it, not the coach in the booth, telling you, to adjust the play, adjust the blitz scheme, and adjust the routes from the receiver. So there's a lot to be learned. It's not saying that he won't or can't beat out Jacoby. It very well can happen. I'm always the biggest fan of, letting these guys sit. And, when they earn it, Or if the quarterback's not performing well, then you throw them in there. Because we faced a lot of rookie quarterbacks, throughout my time there. And some of these guys never recover from starting their entire rookie season because their heads just spinning from all the things that they, went out there and failed at early on in their career. But yeah, just build confidence day to day and just learn as much as possible. Be a sponge, ask questions from, ask Jacoby, ask, the receivers, ask the offensive coordinator, stay later, show up early, all that good stuff. Because quarterback's the hardest position, in the game of football. And I said, the more you practice at it, the more you rep at it, you'll get better.
Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think they should let those guys go compete. And I think for Drake Maye, if he's out there and he's doing all the line calls and he's comfortable, he's able to make throws, able to read coverage, then yeah, I mean, if that's what it looks like in the second or third week in training camp and you're sitting there and you're just like, how can we not play this guy? I mean, we practiced against Houston back in Deshaun Watson's rookie year. And I remember being out there and him and Tom Savage, and I was in school for a year with Savage at Rutgers. And I remember leaving from those joint practices being like, Deshaun Watson's not far off from Savage. Like the way they're reading the coverage, the way 7-on-7 looked like, I was like, it's not like Savage was out there and the ball was hitting his hands and like he wasn't just dissecting and moving. And I was like, once you put in the Deshaun Watson element, I was like, and I think it might have been week one to three, where it was like, all right, this game's not going well. Let's put Deshaun Watson in. He gets in, makes some plays, and then he's off and running. So I think they're going to have time to see. I think one of the key things is I think they want to just make sure whatever's out there is stable around Drake Maye. I think that one of the hardest things for rookie quarterbacks is when it's not stable around them, and then they're asked to not come only do their job, but they're asked to be like that true veteran quarterback. Hey, this guy might be struggling up front. We got to make sure and be prepared that we might have to give him help. So you got to understand when this, like, that's a lot to put on a guy. I think you want to have great stability with your offensive line. You want to know your receiver core, who's playing, who's going to be here, what rotation do we have, how comfortable do we feel, the backs who are in there, third down pickup. You want the back to be really good at understanding, to be able to help the quarterback where it's not all on his shoulders. I think that's what happened for Mac in his second year. I think a lot of things kind of went and fell on his shoulders to try to not only get it and do it, but to fix things. And when you have to fix things, that makes it really hard as a player. You want to get to a really veteran level understanding of what's going on before you're able to like actually help people fix things. And what we used to say out there on the field is kind of like, excuse my language, but situations. Like that's hard to do as a young player.
Yeah, and as a producer of this podcast, it needs to enter a bleep at 34:18. Thank you. But it's a great point because I remember, like again, these kids get drafted, and our job is to dig more about them and learn about them. And one of the tidbits I had heard was not only Mac back then was giving to Nick Saban. It's another bleep, Amit. What he was telling the left tackle when he would screw up, hey, you need to be better. Like we will all fall if you do within 2 seconds there and don't give me enough time to throw. And I feel like that's very different from what you just talked about, right? Because that's accountability, but then there's problem solving while you're also trying to learn. And so I don't want to rehash the whole Mac experience. You guys have both talked about that with me or other people in media ad nauseum, but it'll be very interesting to see how quickly Drake can problem solve, if at all, in training camp. And even if he can, do those habits of maybe extending plays or scrambling end up hurting him long-term because his solution is to just run away. And that'll work like 4 times a game. It's a killer on 3rd down, 2-minute drive. We've all seen Patrick Mahomes, plenty of other people do it. But
Zach Wilson.
That's your best pal there, Zach Wilson.
When you break it down, I mean, how many times was he just trying to make plays that he was able to do in college? He was able to do that. Drake Maye was able to do that at UNC. I don't care who you bring in. He's probably not going to be able to do that in NFL. And you don't want to learn that that's the way to play quarterback. I think that's the biggest thing. You just don't want to start that habit as a rookie.
Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.